All right, everybody. Welcome back to the Agent Investor podcast. I'm your host, Tom Caffarella. Haven't actually been recording for a couple of weeks now. Been spending kind of the rest of the summer with my family, but they're back to school now. All my kids sent my kids back to school. Actually, yesterday, all four kids are back to school. So back to the grind for me, back to the grind for the kids. And I've got a topic today that is could potentially help quite a few people. And we're going to be making a pretty big change in the way that we do things with our seller appointments. Based on some data that I've been looking at, based on some past history, and I'm going to be talking about that today. So the topic for today is that we're now offering seller appointments to agents. I'm going to talk a little bit about why agents should want seller appointments. Some of that's going to be pretty obvious, but I think that in a lot of cases, agents don't focus enough on sellers. Why my company is going to be making the shift to giving agents seller appointments, what a seller appointment kind of looks like if we do give you a seller appointment, how to work it, how to make money from it, and how you then can get access to these seller appointments. But before I do that, I want to talk a little bit about, the agent investor model, why we generate seller appointments to kind of begin with, how this all kind of fits into what we do and our company objectives. So for those of you, who know me and kind of know what we do, our company in general, we fix and flip somewhere between 100 and 150 houses per year. We fix and flip houses in order to generate big chunks of income, which we can then use as down payments on passive assets. Our company builds apartment buildings, and really at the end of the day, and I say this all the time, if I'm a real estate agent, my goal and what I talk about all the time on this podcast is that you want to sell for a living. You want to make your money. I've got a real estate brokerage, Cameron Real Estate Group. We've got over 400 real estate agents, and that pays our bills. And I think all agents should continue to sell real estate to pay their bills. But we generate seller appointments in order to get really good flip opportunities. The average fix and flip profit that we do averages somewhere around $80,000, which is, pretty decent chunk of change. But really, again, for me, for my business and what we teach and preach at Agent Investor, it's all about that residual passive income that's then created by getting those big chunks of income from flipping homes and then putting those into either multifamilies or apartments like we do, or short-term rentals. And really, if you're a real estate agent, you've been doing this for long enough, you know that most real estate agents are on what we call the real estate roller coaster, which is really just, as simple as 1 month, you could close 3 or 4 transactions, and then you could go, 2 or 3 or 4 more months without doing one transaction. And even beyond month to month, year to year, agents are on the real estate roller coaster. And when, I started selling real estate, I had a really good first year, and then I had a really tough second year. Well, that's just not how things normally work in life, right? You get a job, you're probably getting a raise in your second year. Whereas in real estate, you could have 3 really good years. You could have 1 really bad year. And again, I'm not knocking being a real estate agent. I just think that all real estate agents should have some passive income. So again, the model that we teach and preach is keep selling real estate, focus on listings, convert some of those listings into cash deals that if you are interested in, you can partner with us on. We'll put up the money, we'll do the construction, and we'll split the profits with you 50-50, and then take those big chunks of income that you get and invest it into passive assets. And when I work with people and when I talk to people, my goal is to try to get people to earn $8, $10, $12, $15,000 a month of passive income, so that when you wake up in the beginning of the year, right, January of whatever year it is, it'll be January 2025 soon, that in a worst case scenario, even if you only sell a few houses a year, you still get that passive income to kind of keep you going. So that's our model. And in order to do that, in order for us to, fix and flip 100 to 150 houses per year, we generate those opportunities in two ways. We generate those opportunities by spending marketing dollars, whether it's like a Google pay-per-click or Facebook or a TV or radio ad or mailers or whatever. And then we generate opportunities by partnering with agents. And I've said, time and time again, my goal, if you've been listening to me, in the next 12 months is to partner with 100 agents. I want to do 100 flip deals just from agents. We're currently tracking for about one deal per week right now. I want to double that if at all possible. And I talk about the partnership program all the time. So we generate those opportunities in two ways. But in order for us to get a house or two or three to flip per year from our marketing efforts, we have to generate somewhere between 100 and 120 seller appointments per week. So like I mentioned, we spend marketing dollars in order to generate those appointments. We've got a pretty big marketing budget, and I have full-time people that work for me that are W-2 employees that go out on those appointments and try to sign them up for cash deals. Now, again, if you've been listening to me, listening to my podcast, jumping on any training sessions that I do, you'll know that I always say that, for every 10 sellers that want to meet with us to get a cash offer, only really 20% of them are really interested in the cash offer. The other 80% really want a listing process. That's not, the call to action that we have, but they really don't understand what a cash offer is. They don't know how much it'll be. They don't know what the process is. And then when they figure it out, 8 out of 10 sellers that we meet with or we talk to end up listing their home. And that's okay. Those are kind of just what the statistics say. And those are really always been the statistics, right? Because most people, when they really look into it, they decide that they would rather go through a little bit of extra hassle, a little bit of extra time, a little more uncertainty of listing their house on the market rather than getting the easier process of the cash sale. So how does this, all fit into us offering seller appointments to agents? Why do we make this change? What are we trying to achieve here? Well, to be very clear about this, this is a completely, financially motivated thing for me. My objective, when I spend marketing dollars to generate seller appointments, is to convert at the highest percentage possible and to generate as much revenue as I can. I mean, newsflash, I'm sure nobody's really shocked by that. But the reason I'm thinking about and going to start offering these seller appointments to agents is because the guys that I have and girls that I have that go out on the road to offer cash offers, although they are licensed real estate agents, most of them have never really taken a listing, and most of them are not super familiar with the listing process. So what I've noticed over the past couple of years and really, going back to as long as I've had this data with full-time W-2 sales reps taking my appointments, is that we do really, really well when it comes to signing up the sellers who want cash offers. But when it comes to signing up sellers for listings, we don't do quite as well. And again, information that most of you probably don't know, prior to me hiring, W-2 salaried employees to take my appointments, I used to give all of my seller appointments to agents. So I made that change probably going back to 2020, 2021. And I'm looking back and I'm thinking through stuff. And I think that in hindsight, I would have been better off giving my cash offer appointments to my W-2 employees and giving the more listing opportunities to agents. So now that, we're always trying to tweak and implement and improve, and that's our plan for right now. So as I mentioned, our company generates over 100 seller appointments per week. Um, and only about 20% of those really have cash offer potential. So we're going to be starting and we're going to be slowly dripping out these appointments. And we're looking for agents to take these appointments. And again, in order to convert them and in order for the agents and ourselves really to get a higher conversion rate and make more money. So the way that my kind of, lead flow system works is pretty simple. No matter what form of marketing I'm doing, whether I'm doing a mailer, whether I'm doing pay-per-click, whether I'm doing a TV ad, whether I'm doing a Facebook ad, all of my leads come into my CRM. Okay, so I've got a CRM and I've got a team of inside sales agents that make those appointments. Our inside sales agents, they're full-time, they sit at their desk all day and they talk to sellers who want to sell their properties. And, they ask them questions. They ask them questions on, why they're calling in, why would they want to meet with the cash offer company, what their objectives are, why they're selling, where they're going, what their asking prices, etc., to get an understanding of really how we can help them. Because again, backing up for a second, most sellers, when they get one of our letters in the mail or they see an ad online or they, see a TV commercial, they really don't know what selling to, a cash home buyer looks like. And really they shouldn't, right? Because it's not really a mainstream thing. So when they call in and they inquire, our goal with, our sales team is to try to figure out, whether it does make sense for them, and what method makes the most sense for them to sell their house. And it's not a very complicated thing, but of course, sometimes we make mistakes, but in general, we do a pretty good job of kind of figuring out who's wanting an easy sale process and maybe they're willing to take a little bit less for their property in order to get it, or who really wants to maximize and bid their property out and get the, absolute top dollar, which therefore, you've got to get as many eyeballs on your house as you can. And so, we would classify more, so some kind of like examples of when we know that when we're talking to a seller, that a seller is really more of like a retail, type of seller versus, cash offer. So I'll just give, a couple of simple examples and I could kind of go on and on and on about this, but I'll give an example, a really simple one. Let's just say that the seller doesn't have enough equity to sell to a cash investor. So I'll give an example. Let's say that somebody bought their house 6 months ago. Let's say that they paid $500,000 for their house and they did a FHA loan. So maybe they owe, 460, 470, 480 on their property. They may have had a change of heart. They may, want to move out of that house and they may want a quick sale. They may want some of the benefits of a cash offer. But when we really get down to it, a cash offer like a flipper, a home buyer, can't buy their house at the 460, 470, 480, put some money into it and turning around and make a profit. So we know, I'm giving kind of just an obvious example of the type of property that we know has to be listed, by a real estate agent. It's the only way that they can sell their house and not lose money. So I could give, like I mentioned, a million different examples of, when and why we believe that a seller is more interested in a retail type process, or they need to go a retail type process. But at the end of the day, if we get 10 calls or, we talk to 10 leads, 8 of them are really going to want the traditional process. They're going to need to sell the traditional way. And 2 of them are going to be kind of like cash offers. So as I mentioned earlier, the reason that we're now, going to be giving these appointments out to agents, there's really a lot of different reasons. One is that the full-time sales reps I have, like I mentioned, they are licensed, but, they don't list a lot of homes. So, when we're talking about, okay, how could we do a really good job, as an agent when we're out at their house? It's a tougher conversation to have because, we would be competing with somebody who probably is in that market, who has listed and sold a lot of properties. And again, that's who we're kind of like looking for, are people that have specific experience in specific markets, who can do a better job of, working with the individuals we have. Then there's just the servicing part. We do generate leads in a really wide radius right now. So, with that being said, it can be tough to service a listing that might be 2 or 3 or 4 hours away. Obvious statement. But then there's just the local area knowledge that agents possess, that's helpful as well. So again, main point of me doing this, main point of me making this switch is I want to get my conversion, up a little bit higher. So that's what we're doing it. So what does an appointment, a cash offer appointment actually look like? Because it does differ. It is different than a traditional 100% traditional listing appointment, especially a traditional 100% listing appointment for somebody that you get, through your SOI. So I'm going to talk, about some of the main differences. And, as you're hearing this, you may be thinking, geez, like this is not attractive to me. Maybe I don't want to do this. And that's totally okay. Obviously, we can't hire 2,000 agents to take these appointments. We don't have enough appointments to go around. So, I want to let everybody know the good, the bad, the ugly. And, if you are interested in learning more, I'll let you know at the end of this podcast, what to do next. But, how it differs from, a traditional appointment. Well, first of all, obviously, none of these appointments are going to be with people in your sphere of influence. So they're harder to convert. And, it's one thing to walk into an appointment where you got a referral, or maybe the person even knows you, and you're walking in with that trust already built, right? As compared to you're going into a cash offer listing type appointment where they've never met you before. So you've got to be, good at building rapport, both good at building rapport and also comfortable building rapport. Some people aren't. It's okay. There's a ton of really great real estate agents that do really well with their SOI, but don't love, going out and meeting with strangers and having to build rapport and et cetera. Second thing that's a little bit different is there's likely going to be more competition. So for example, if somebody goes online and Google searches sell my house fast, they're probably clicking on a couple of different websites. So again, you get a referral from your sphere. You might be the only agent that kind of goes in the door. So the next thing that's different is that all of our, sellers, even if, we think that, they're better off listing their home, they're still going to want to know what our cash offer is. And by the way, if they end up deciding, to sell via a cash offer, that's great. Like, we'll still compensate you. And that's the best possible outcome for us. Although I think we typically do a good job of kind of, knowing what's what. So having said that, you're going to go on the appointment. You're going to tour their house kind of like you normally would. You're going to come prepared. You're going to have comps, and you're going to have kind of a range of what our cash offer is going to be. You'll always be in communication with me and always have the ability to communicate with me about what the cash offer, looks like. And you're going to go out there and you're going to talk through, we're going to train you. It doesn't require, intense training, but we will kind of prepare you for helping them to decide, which avenue they want to go. Do they want more of an easier sales process and a little bit lower amount, or do they want to get as many people in their home as possible, try to create a bidding war, and try to maximize out what they're going to get? And you're going to let them know kind of what those two things look like, both the process for selling their house and what the potential sales price might be. I mean, we can't guarantee the sales price on the retail side because put a property on the MLS. You don't know for sure, but we can tell them what the cash offer is going to be and kind of what that looks like. So, you're going to go on an appointment, you might spend 5 or 10 minutes walking around. You might spend 10 or 15 minutes talking to them about what the processes look like, 5 or 10 minutes about, what the offers might look like, the numbers might look like. And of course, if they move forward, we're going to move forward and, make some money. And if they don't move forward, of course, if there's potential to do business later and follow up, that's great. One of the big benefits from, taking these appointments is that, you're going to build your sphere of influence, your SOI, and you never know, like you could go on one of these appointments and then get a referral from somebody else, or you could close one of these appointments and then do a great job and get a referral for a buyer or a seller kind of into the future. And I didn't mention this, of course, but, it goes without saying that in order to build a successful real estate business, it's tough to do it if you're not focused on listings. Yes, there are, so many people who rely heavily on buyers. I know I did when I started my career, but really, like, the leverage is in having listings, right? Because every listing you take is an opportunity. You could potentially get a buyer on that listing, or your sign's in the ground and you could potentially get more listings that way. Listings also, compared to buyers, usually take less time. They usually are a little bit more of a guarantee. Typically when somebody lists their house, they're pretty darn serious about selling. Buyers, a lot of buyers are interested in buying, but if they can't find what they like, they could put it off for a year, they could rent for a year. And then even with the NAR settlement, how that's going to change the business. I know you're all agents, and, I probably shouldn't even need to say any of this stuff, and maybe this stuff is just obvious, but there is a real benefit from having a listing-based business. Not to mention that, like, you're going to get more listing side experience by doing this. Putting in Zillow, putting on all your websites and promotional materials, etc. So that's kind of what, the benefits of having, listing appointments. I talked about some of the downsides of these appointments, additional downsides that are just, real are that, you could go into some tougher situations. Again, these are not referrals. We don't know all of these people. You could, go to a property. It could be in a lot worse condition than you're used to kind of dealing with. You could meet a seller that you don't love. That could happen anyway from your sphere, but I think it's more common in these appointments. You're gonna have to fight for these appointments a little bit more. I talked about the competition, but yeah, those are kind of the downsides of doing the appointments. And of course, like, what are we looking for? A lot of people, when they hear about seller appointments, will raise their hand. They're super excited. They say they're, willing to do kind of whatever it takes. And then there's obviously our side. Like, these aren't just free appointments that we didn't pay for. And we put a lot of time, effort, and energy to paying for these appointments, creating systems in order to book them, paying people to make the calls, and, training and coaching, people on the appointments. So what are we looking for? Well, number one, we're looking for people that are motivated. You're going to have issues with some of these appointments. You might get no-showed. You might have to do a ton of follow-up. Not every appointment is going to be good. We're looking for people they're motivated and dedicated and are going to be positive about these appointments. Aren't going to complain if an appointment doesn't work out that well. Aren't going to complain if the appointment was a waste of time. And are going to go the extra mile to make sure that these get signed. It goes without saying that the number one thing that we're looking for is conversion. But how do you get conversion? You get conversion by, showing up to every appointment, preparing for every appointment, being there early, following up with people, communicating with me about how the appointment went, communicating with me on strategies on how to get these closed. All the typical stuff. But, as I say that, that what I just said are kind of the bare basics of like, how do you convert anything in sales? But to be completely honest, most people don't do it, right? Most people don't keep a positive attitude. They don't show up early for appointments. They don't prepare for appointments. They don't follow up. Those should all be basic things when it comes to sales. But again, I've done this for long enough to know that some of those very simple and basic things aren't always done. So we're looking for people that can convert, and you convert by doing the stuff that I kind of just mentioned. They're not going to be easy at first. I can tell you that. Like, unless you've had experience converting leads with people you've never met with before, there's going to be some challenges there. It'll take a little bit of time to get trained and to figure it out. So it's not like a magic bullet. These are not, this is not like a referral from people that I know. It's not like my best friend who I know is going to use you no matter what. You've got to fight and, use blood, sweat, and tears to get these, appointments. So those are the types of, things that we're looking for. I will say, the next thing that I'm looking for, as a qualification is, we are looking for people to have had some experience, selling real estate in those areas, because I believe that those are going to be, that is going to give us a competitive advantage when you walk in the door, right? Like, we don't want to send you an hour away to a location that you don't, know anything about. So, we're looking for people to be, more local, and we generate leads all over the place. So we will likely generate a lead, somewhere near your backyard. And, at the end of the day, how this will probably work is we're going to get a bunch of people that are interested in doing this. Most people won't even take the first step, which I'm going to talk about in a second. The first step is to jump on one of my partnership calls to go over a little bit more about our company and how this is going to work. In order to do that, I would recommend doing that now by going to www.partnerwithagentinvestor.com. Again, that's www.partnerwithagentinvestor.com, and attend one of the next upcoming sessions. I'm doing that for a couple of reasons. Number one, I want to give people more insight as to how we work and what we do about our company. But number two, I'm trying to screen out people. I'll be very upfront with this. Screen out people who won't follow my directions. So if you don't, go to www.partnerwithagentinvestor.com and sit through a session, what does that tell me? It tells me you're interested, but you're definitely not going to go the extra mile when it comes to me giving you an appointment. Keep in mind, if I give you an appointment, I probably spent about $1,000 to get you out to that property. So these are expensive. I don't, give these out lightly. So that's step one. And then, step number two, I'll go over on that presentation. But again, it's www.partnerwithagentinvestor.com. And how it will likely work is I'm going to get a ton of people that are interested. A bunch of people won't even follow that first step. After we jump on that call, I'll talk about step number two and kind of, what to do next. And then once you're out on appointments, I'm going to be looking to see, number one, are you converting? Number two, are you putting an effort in following our procedures? So there will definitely be people that make it to getting an appointment, but kind of don't, do what we ask at that point. Obviously, it's to be fair to myself, it doesn't make sense for me to spend $1,000 on an appointment to then have somebody not follow, our process. So I'm going to be looking for people that are converting. I'm going to be looking for people that are following our process. And if you're converting and following our process, you will likely get more opportunities, because obviously I'm looking to make money here. And if you're, converting, you're making me money, you're making yourself money, and there's going to be more where that came from. So again, first step is to go to www.partnerwithagentinvestor.com and sit on one of those calls. And last thing I want to mention is like, what happens if you jump on a call? What happens if this doesn't work out, for either party? Because I've had people take these appointments, and then they don't want to do them anymore. They take an appointment. They go, oh, I thought this was going to be super easy. I don't want to do it. I don't want to drive to somebody who, no-showed me, or drive to an appointment where someone decides they don't want to sell. Like, these aren't going to be perfect appointments. So if for whatever reason, you go through the steps, you get appointments and you don't want to do it anymore, that's cool. Like, I'm going to try to prevent that from happening by giving you all of what the negatives of these appointments are. It might work out the other way too. Like, I may give you some appointments and you may not be following our procedures. You may not, be doing what we're asking. And, I'm going to, tell you as well, like, it's not, working out. But, either way, if it doesn't work out for you, it doesn't work out for me, we'll still be friends. I still hope that, regardless, like, you'd be part of the partnership program, you refer us some deals, we can still split profits. And, of course, like, keep in mind, and I know, this isn't, anything that, is going to be shocking. There will be a lot of interest in this program, and there's not going to be enough appointments to go around. So just keep that in mind, that, like, we want to give everybody an opportunity, and I'm going to do my best to see who's going to be following the processes, who's going to be paying attention, etc. And the people that are plugged in, that show that they're ready, willing, and able to go above and beyond, are going to get some opportunities. And obviously, I would love to give everybody in the world an opportunity, but, losing $1,000 in an appointment probably doesn't make too much sense for me. So I do think for the people that this works for, this is going to be a really good opportunity. I do think it's going to end up making, our company more profitable, which makes me happy. And so, yeah, this is a little bit different of a recording today. Not the typical type of stuff that I usually talk about, but we'll be back, next episode with real topics, stuff about investing, although this was about investing too, but a little bit different spin on it. So I appreciate you guys tuning in. I'll be back next week with more. Again, first step on the appointment thing, www.partnerwithageinvestor.com. All right, guys, I appreciate